That's so clever they have that in there. All right. We are now recording. You want to turn it on?
It
Yeah. Y'all don't want to see it?
If you want to show us.
The syllabus, I mean, there may be a few things here. This is, mostly doing this with Javon because the other two in the class have been through the syllabi many times before, but because you haven't, it takes a while. Okay. Is the light, what you doing?
I think it's starting.
Yeah, it takes a while. This is Math 237 Linear Algebra. The syllabus is not updated because I just added the course back yesterday. So the course, this says summer 216. We're now fall 216. So everything that you see on here will be summer dates and times and stuff. So I'll tell you what the corrections are. Math 237 Linear Algebra. It's a 3-hour course. We meet, and this is of course wrong, Tuesday, Thursday, 11 to 12:15. Okay, this was a summer course there that was much longer because it was a shorter term. Room A265, A building, Bessemer campus. That part's correct. Okay, my name, if you heard the earlier one, it's the same. Charles Fowler, email cfowler@lawsonstate.edu. And I am a bit behind in emails now. I hope in the next week or so to kind of get caught up a little bit. Phone 929-3449. And what I've been telling students of late, call me during my office hours. Now, these office hours are incorrect. I'll tell you what the correct ones are. Try calling during office hours. If you call when it's not during office hours, odds are I'm not going to be in the office. If I'm not in the office, I won't be able to answer the phone. And then your option is to leave a voicemail. And right now I'm so far behind in voicemails that it's, I don't know when I'll get caught up. So don't bother leaving a voicemail. Hang up, call back later during my office hours. At some point you'll catch me, okay? Or email me, and at some point I'll get there. Okay, my office hours now, and these are completely incorrect. I have to make all the corrections here. Monday and Wednesday, I have an 8 o'clock class and I have a 9:30 class. The 9:30 class is the Cal 2, so that gets through at 11:10. So my office hours are 11:15 to 12:15. Also, 12:15, my Cal 3 starts, and that goes until 1:55. So my office hours the rest of Monday, Wednesday afternoon, 2 o'clock until 5:15 approximately. I may have to adjust the end time, but I'm usually here until around 5:15. Okay? So it may officially not be that late. That's usually what I have. So Monday, Wednesday, 11:15 to 12:15, and 2 to 5:15. Tuesday, Thursday. It's not split up differently on Tuesday and Thursday. It's Tuesday and Thursday. I have an 8 o'clock class, a 9:30 class, and this 11 o'clock class. So my office hours don't actually begin until 12:15, and they go 12:15 to 5:15 for the first mini-term, okay? During the second mini-term, I pick up a second mini-term class Tuesday, Thursday afternoon at 3:15, so then they'll go 12:15 to 3:15, because I'll be in class the rest of the day on those days. All right, and those are all on the Bessemer campus, Monday through Thursday. On Friday, usually I'm on the Birmingham campus, and that's 7:45 to 11:45. My phone number is the same on both campuses, so just dial that number. Now, let me say this about Fridays. 2 or 3 different things, okay? Number one, they love calling meetings on Friday. So I can't guarantee you I'm always going to be in the office 7:45 to 11:45. I'll try to let you know if I do know I've got a meeting coming up on Friday, which leads me to this coming Friday, okay? This coming Friday, I heard from my boss, Dr. Pruitt, the Associate Dean, that, oh, and by the way, this syllabus doesn't give my room numbers, okay? Let me give you my room numbers. I'll try to write these in. On Bessemer campus, it's A265, and Javon found me yesterday, and the other two of you know where that is, so no problem there. On the Birmingham campus, it's in the academic building, which is also called the B building, 122, B122, okay? But this coming Friday, I'm the math department chair, and we will be screening candidates for a new math position. So most of the time, the folks over there don't really get started right at 7:45, so I should be in the office, 7:45-ish or so, and until they get everything up and running for us, I don't know when that'll be. It could be 8 o'clock, it could be 8:30, 9, I don't know when they'll be ready for us to do that. But I'll be in the office until it's time for us to start screening, and then when we finish screening, I'll come back to the office, but we got a lot to screen, so it'll be probably the majority of those 4 hours. I'll be out of the office. Yeah, call first, okay? I could give you the secretary's number, and she could give you a better idea. It's Miss Rose Saxton at 929-6377. That's for this Friday. And probably most. Okay. All right. Now, here's one other issue. And the two here know about it, but Javon, you may not. I have a mild form of leukemia, and right now I've been for several years now, once a quarter, just get a treatment, and it knocks down the white cell count, and things have been okay, but my white cells have been gradually increasing, so that my doctor, the hematologist, has decided that we probably ought to change medicines and go to something different and maybe have a better result. The results haven't been bad so far, but he just thinks it might be a good thing to do. And this one that he's suggesting, its protocol is once a week for 8 weeks, then once a month for 4 months, and then once a quarter from then on. So the odds are sometime this fall, I will start having treatments every Friday for 8 Fridays, and that's going to be a good chunk of the Fridays in the term. And I always ask them to schedule me for in the afternoon so I don't miss work, but sometimes they schedule me in the morning anyway. So if they do schedule me in the mornings, I may not be there some Fridays. I'll try to let you know in class if I'm not going to be there. And I might be there just the first part and then have to leave to go, because I have to have blood work and all sorts of stuff before the appointment. So that could be happening too. All right, and also, this class meets Tuesday, Thursday. I will have a doctor's appointment one Tuesday this term. That's going to be sometime in late September or early October, and he only sees patients on Tuesday mornings. So there's a great chance that this class we may miss one class because of that. Okay, and then there could be some Fridays that won't have office hours, or they'll be short. All right, anyway, course description. I didn't write this. No one here at the college wrote it. It was developed by a committee, a team from 2-year college folks and public 4-year colleges and universities in the state of Alabama. And they said if we teach this, they give you credit for it. And here's what it is. This course introduces the basic theory of linear equations and matrices. Now, hopefully you know the basic theory of linear equations already. We will then jump into matrices and show how they relate to linear equations. Okay?
Course, isn't it?
What's that? That's pretty much it. Real vector spaces, bases and dimension, linear transformations and matrices, determinants, eigenvalues and eigenvectors, inner product spaces, and the diagonalization of symmetric matrices. As if you needed any more, additional topics may include, but will not, I'll tell you that right now, quadratic forms and the use of matrix methods to solve systems of linear differential equations.
At least half of the things you just listed off have to do with matrices.
Exactly. And the thing is, we probably won't hit all those. We're going to hit as many as we can, but I'm far more interested in you getting the core stuff down well, and then the rest of it you can do, if you need to, somewhat independently. Okay, so that's our course description. Prerequisites and or co-requisites, Math 126. I think all of you are through that. That's Cal 2.
We're both in Cal 3, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think he is too.
Yeah.
Okay, so So I think no sweat there. Our textbook, and it says required. That's up to you whether you're going to get it or not. Cameron was saying what the rent price and the buy price is at the place he goes, and there's very little difference. So, but it's Elementary Linear Algebra, 7th edition. The author is Ron Larson. Now, if that name sounds familiar for those that have been here, he is the author of our Pre-Calculus Algebra and Trig course, which I found was, I don't like the publisher, but I like him as an author. He does a good job with this, but he doesn't have quite as extensive of support stuff, though he does have some. So still a pretty good author. And now, there's one thing for those, the two of you in here who have had his trig class, you know, out of his text, you'll see that he treats vectors very differently, a little bit differently here. So I'll point that out when we get there. It is a Brooks Cole Cengage publisher. I don't really care for them, but it's the one we use. And actually, this text I've been through. If you go down to my office, you'll see almost a whole shelf full of linear algebra books. I went through several trying to find the one that fits the course description the best. This one fits it the best, in addition to being the author I like. Okay.
It's like Barnes and Noble. It's the 7th edition, right?
Yeah.
Has it for $86 to purchase.
Oh, okay.
About the best deal.
Yeah, that sounds like the best deal. Only a few dollars, $13 more than the rental price at the other place. Strange.
About $20 cheaper than buying it.
Yeah.
And like on Amazon, it's $230.
Oh man, I thought Amazon was supposed to be
They
cheap.
usually are. That's
Yeah.
kind of surprised.
Bizarre. Okay, the 2013 text, which means they're probably going to the 8th edition sometime. But you know, we don't have to worry about that. The math hasn't changed any. It's just the little thing they do to sell new books. Okay. Graphing calculator, not absolutely required, but you might find it useful in places. Okay. And paper and pencil, certainly. And if you prefer a pen, I don't care. Okay, Blackboard. I can't remember if you have heard this before, but I'll go through it quickly. I really don't like this block here, but they tell us we can't change this. I usually make fun of the first sentence here, using Blackboard daily to gain access to vital source information such as the syllabus. You're not going to read the syllabus every day. I make fun of that. Okay, I would say when you're preparing for class, which isn't every day, but you know, maybe it is, I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. Okay, you need to use it as you need. The syllabus is not on Blackboard yet because I haven't updated the syllabus yet. I just found out we were adding the course yesterday. So I'll try to get that done this week if I can. If not, maybe over the weekend or next week. Sometime soon I'll get it out there. Handouts, most of the time if I have a handout, I'll hand them out to you. Okay, so don't sweat that. PowerPoint shows there aren't any for this text. This text does not come with PowerPoint, and I haven't developed any. But if you watch the Screencast-O-Matic, I will be writing things down and solving problems there, so that's going to take the place of PowerPoint. So it'll be through Screencast-O-Matic. I don't know where that's going to show up on Blackboard yet. Maybe under content. I don't know. I've got to work that out because this is my first term using Screencast-O-Matic. They did away with Integrity, which fed directly into Blackboard into its own tab in Blackboard. We don't have that anymore. Activities, sometimes the school puts activities out there. I can't imagine putting any for this course, but if there are, I'll do them. Assignments, I will put your research paper assignment out there. It's not there yet. I've got just some very minor changes to make there, but then I will put it on Blackboard under content. Okay? Announcements, sometimes the school puts announcements out there. Pay attention to those. I don't know that we'll have many in here. I'll usually announce to you through Screencast-O-Matic the days I won't be here or when I'm going to be not available on Fridays or that kind of things. Grades I will try to put out there as soon as you turn in a paper. I've got usually the rest of Tuesday, Thursday afternoon, the first mini-term, and from Thursday afternoon until 3:15, the second mini-term, hopefully I can get those graded and posted in that time. Okay, so that will come early. Once I start the second mini-term course, probably get a little bit further behind because that course, I have lab every day and test once a week usually, and it just is it really clogs my schedule. Okay. Now this next sentence I don't like. Failure to use Blackboard is severely damaged. It's such a negative sentence, but you probably heard me address that. I can't change it. There is no scheduled book, so that sentence is obsolete. And then it says students should always check the Blackboard announcement page prior to coming to class. The only reason that's there is comma in case the instructor is canceling class that day. And I'll tell you now, I've already said, I've got one doctor's appointment I know of. I'll let you know way in advance of that. It'll be on Screencast-O-Matic, so it's good to check Blackboard and do your Screencast-O-Matic, but if you're in class, you've already heard it. If I have a chance, I'll put the announcement out there, but 3 people, hopefully you'll know. Okay. So anyway, otherwise I try never, if I can help it, to cancel a class. I had jury duty one time and had to cancel some classes.
That's why you had to cancel. I forgot why
Right.
you had to cancel.
Yeah, and you know, something else might happen, and if it does, if I have time, I'll put the announcement out there, but frankly, I'm going to try to be here every day I can. All right, student learning outcomes, the core student learning outcomes. Students will solve systems of linear equations and matrices, okay? That'll be the first part. That's basically, we're going to do a little bit of Chapter 1 and combine that with Chapter 2. Chapter 1 is System of Linear Equations. Chapter 2 is Matrices. That covers Student Learning Outcome 1. Students will apply the properties of determinants to the solution of matrices. Chapter 3, Determinants. Very short chapter. Student Learning Outcome number 3. Students will work with vector spaces identifying their bases and dimensions. And I wanted to point it out. Vector spaces was one of the things mentioned in the course description. Basis and dimension was the other. So this is covered in Chapter 4. And basis and dimension specifically in 4.5. Okay? Students will work with inner product spaces. Chapter 5. Inner product spaces. Students will perform linear transformations and represent them with matrices. As Cameron said, everything is involving matrices. Chapter 6 is linear transformations. Students will work with eigenvalues and eigenfunctions and diagonalize symmetric matrices. That's Chapter 7. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You couldn't have a table of contents that fit more closely to the course description than this. And by the way, 7 is eigenvalues, eigenvectors, and 7.2 is diagonalization. Okay, so that covers everything. And that's as far as we go. And students will research and write on a topic in linear algebra. Every class of mine has it, so Javon, since you're in 3 classes, I think, that's 3 different papers. And both of you are also in the same boat.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
At least.
Oh, what fun. Okay. Here are your course competencies. They match exactly like I was saying before. Chapters 1 and 2, we're not going to do everything in Chapter 1, but what we cover in Chapter 1 and most of Chapter 2, that'll be your first test. Chapter 3, determinants, a very short chapter, that'll be your second test. Chapter 4, vector spaces, that'll be your next test, and then we'll continue as much as we can. I haven't always been able to finish all these chapters, but hopefully you'll get the tools you need that you can do pretty much carry on. The writing competency is your research paper, which is required. Overall competency, now notice I don't call it a comprehensive final exam. It's going to be your final examination, which more than likely will be the last chapter we're in, the test in that last chapter. But that builds on everything we've done before, so in one sense it's sort of comprehensive, but it is the final test, final examination. All right, how will I use these then? The research paper is required for the course. That means it will count as a test grade, and that test cannot be dropped. Unit tests or chapter tests will be on every other chapter that we do. Oh, there we go. I went too far. And your lowest one of those will be, you may drop it if you need to, if it helps you. Final exam, which will be the last chapter test, may not be dropped. It will count as just a test score. And each assessment will be graded on a 100-point scale. The average will be your grade. Yeah.
Just kind of an interjection here. A website, since you don't have any for differential equations, I don't know about linear algebra. Mm-hmm. Do you have any like website resources?
I don't recall any. I've got to check the book again. Did you find something? Slater.
Yes. It has workout solutions.
For this text?
For both.
For both of these two texts.
And
nice.
Any other math book.
Right. Okay. I think I do have Slater, but whether I have it on the Blackboard for these courses, I'll have to check. But I have put Slater out there before for some of my courses. Maybe it was one of these, but yeah, if you will.
I think that's the only thing that I can.
Right. If you can. Yeah. If you can, well, when we, after class sometime we'll check on that and see. I know I've had it before, but whether it's still on one of my courses, I don't know. But I know I've used Slater. So, good to know. Okay. Attendance. Okay. This is standard in every course. Students are expected to attend all the classes for which they are registered. And frankly, I hear students say, oh, but this was an excused absence. If you're not in class, you're not getting material, sure, you might be able to follow some things on the screencast-o-matic, but you can't ask any questions. It's really to your benefit to be here. That's what you're paying for, is to get the material. So if you can't be here and you're going to fall behind or do poorly on tests, please consider withdrawing rather than getting a bad grade. But that could affect financial aid, transfer and that kind of stuff. So I'll let you work that out. That's your decision, your call. Make up work, basically, since I'm giving you an assignment for the research paper early in the term, and all your tests are take-home. I don't know if make-up work really makes any sense for this class, but basically, I'll put it this way. Whatever I give you, try to have it submitted by whatever due date I give you, like the paper, or within 1 week if I don't give you a specific date. Now, most of your tests, you're not going to be able to do probably in a week, or you can, but you can turn it in sooner if you want to, but just get it to me basically well before the next test. I give that out. Otherwise, you're holding up my returning papers to the other students. So try to get things in, if possible, within a week. If not, as soon as you can. You do get to drop one major chapter test, not counting the paper and not counting the final exam. Okay, we're going to try to begin all classes at the scheduled time. This one's especially easy to do because the class right before here is differential equations, which all three of you are in. Okay, so if you're here for the first, we're going to have your 15-minute break and start the second. So we'll try to begin all on time, with the possible exception of that one Tuesday I've got a doctor's appointment, and we may start late that day if it's an early appointment, and I can get back here before the class would be over. Okay, I'll let you know that time. Statement of harassment, discrimination, harassment. Let me just highlight a couple of things. The same thing is said twice, and I'll point it out to you. The last sentence in this first paragraph. Any practice or behavior that constitutes harassment, bullying, discrimination, any of that kind of stuff is a violation of State Board of Education policy and will not be tolerated. Period. Okay? The last sentence of the second sentence in that next little paragraph. Harassment of any nature, bullying, discrimination is never tolerated, and the college takes such charges seriously. So what we ask of you is, if you see, sense, or even think that there could be something like this going on, not just to yourself, but certainly to yourself, but even to someone else, please let somebody know. We'll deal with it quickly, fairly, but we don't want it happening here. Okay? Americans with Disabilities, if you got any type of learning disability, please let us know. I don't need to know it. Dr. Herndon needs to know it. She's on this campus, Ms. Luana Suggs on the Birmingham campus. They will get the material together.
Did you ever find out if it was Miss Suggs or if it was someone else?
I did not. I haven't been able to sit at my desk hardly any yesterday. I'll have a little more time today. If I can, when I get around to updating the syllabi, that's when I was, I need to find that out. And I'll call Dr. Herndon and see if it's Miss Suggs. It just seems like in the back of my mind, someone else was introduced last Monday, and I said, who's that? And they said they're replacing somebody. I thought maybe it was Miss Suggs. I don't know. I'll find out. Even if you feel like you've been not given a good shake, we'll help you file a grievance against us. I mean, we take this that seriously. It's the law. It's the right thing to do. We want you to learn. We want to provide the framework in which you can learn. Okay? I will update this course calendar. This was for summer. Basically, this is the college calendar. I'll update that for fall. And then there will be the student acknowledgement page. When I get this out there on Blackboard, I'll let you know. Then you can either print this page and sign it and turn it in to me, or you can extract it and email it to me with your typed signature or whatever. Okay. Any questions on the syllabus? Figure the two of you don't have it. You've heard them many times before. Okay.
1, 2.
Yeah. Okay. Now the research paper general instructions. I know the other two have heard this ad nauseum, so I'll try to do it as quickly as I can. You choose a topic. Any topic you choose that has something to do with linear algebra. It can be a person. We'll name several. Gauss, Jordan, bunches of names will come up. It can be a theory. Boy, this book is put together on several theories. It has several per section, it seems like, or theorems anyway. So you can take one of the major ones and pursue that. Phenomenon that is well represented by linear algebra. Applications, I really love these. And Ashley was asking earlier, are we ever going to use this in your engineering area? I think so, but even if you don't see it there, it will be in the background. For instance, I know engineers use tables, and Cameron was telling the jokes about that. The tables are developed largely using linear algebra. So yeah, they're in the background.
I don't really have to ask if I'll use this at all.
Yeah. And by the way, the book has in just about every section, it'll have a little blurb near the end of that section about some application for it. For instance, Google's and every search engine based on linear algebra, okay? And you use those all the time, you don't realize you're using linear algebra. We'll see them in every section, really good. And so it can be an application in your field of study or in something that you're interested in, okay? Or any other subtype that you have an interest. I'd rather you pick something you're interested in related to linear algebra, if the relation exists. Okay, or it can be an internet application, and Cameron was just saying Slater has some great application. There may be others out there. You might find illustrations or YouTube videos or other things that describe something way better than I do, even better than the book does. If you find something like that and want to write on those, what did you find wanting before that you found superior somewhere else? You can write about other places you looked and what were their strengths or weaknesses, something like that, and how you wish this would have gone even further and taken it another step. You can easily come up with 2, 3, 4 paragraphs that could fill up your 1 to 2 pages of text. Okay? So what I'd like you to do, and this is in every class that you're in, all 3 of you are in 3 classes, write your name and your topic you want to do on So get busy looking at possibilities on a piece of paper, return it to me. And now I usually say at this point, you can also include any numbers you want to give me, as in phone numbers. You don't have to. It's not required. It has nothing to do with this course. But, yeah. But periodically, I do get phone calls from someone in administration or somewhere, front desk or something, saying, thus and such in your class, do you have any way to get in touch with them? Because the number in the system may not be able to get through, or the number's wrong or has been changed. So if you want to give me 1, 2, or up to 3 phone numbers, that's up to you. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. If your best number is a cell phone, which I bet you for most of you it is, then by all means, give me that if you want to. You don't have to give me anything. But the possibility that the cell phone could be damaged or lost or battery died or, changed carrier or something, and you want to give me a good backup number that probably won't be changed, like mom's landline or something like that, you can give me that if you choose. You don't have to. Or if you do work, and there's a good chance when someone's trying to reach you, you might be at work and you might not be able to take a cell call there, or you wouldn't do any good to call you at your mom's house or something like that. If you want to give me a work number, you can. That's completely up to you. I don't need any of these, but if you choose to give me 1 or 2 or 3 or none, that's fine. But since you got a piece of paper with just your name and a paper topic, if you want to include that, you can. Okay, you will need at least 1 outside source, 2 or more are better, but at least 1 outside source for your paper. That can be a book, a journal, a newspaper, a magazine, any kind of material that you can find in the library, or it could be here's the big key word, legitimate internet source. Be sure it's not just someone's opinion. If you're getting something from the internet, make sure it's valid, okay? If you have any doubt, ask me and I'll go over it with you. If I have any doubt, I'll suggest you look further, okay? You'll usually be able to tell. The textbook, however, though it may be a source for ideas, it cannot be your source for your paper. You need to get outside the book into the real world for your sources. Again, the book can give you the ideas, but you get out of the book to get your actual paper. Okay, your paper needs to be at least 1 word process page of text. Double space. This that you're reading now is single space. You can do double space. In fact, I almost insist on it. It's easier for me to grade and mark and that kind of stuff and even read. So please make it 1 to 2 pages of double space. Now, what do I mean by a page of text? A lot of you, and I don't care that you do this or whatever you choose to do, a lot of times I'll have a big header, at the top, upper left or upper right corner or something like that, and then skip a few spaces, and then a title, and then triple space, and then you start typing finally your first word of text comes somewhere. What's 1 page of text? It goes to the bottom of that page, and on the second page, from the top of the page down to that first line of text. That's 1 page of text. So you can't have a big header, big footer, big margins, and have hardly anything typed there, and then you say that's a page of text. No, it's going to have to be on 2 pieces of paper, basically. Have at least 1 page of text. Okay? I don't care what font you use as long as I can read it. Anything good, readable font. I don't read hieroglyphics or Old English or Greek or Cyrillic. What's that?
I said I'm going to differ on the hieroglyphics.
Oh, okay. I don't read it. No. Okay.
Only handwritten.
Huh?
Only handwritten.
Yeah, that's it. Sanskrit is fine. No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Try to keep the paper less than 2 pages. Now, I only say that so you don't think it's a big onerous project, okay? If you get so interested in the topic you just can't quit and it goes over 2, I don't take off points for it being too long. You do lose points if it's too short. Doesn't meet that 1 full page of text criteria, but I don't take off points directly if it's too long. But let me say this. I had a few people in the past who have tried to, what I consider, snow me with just going on and on and on and on and on, but writing a really lousy paper. The way I grade, when you turn it in, it's a 100-point paper. And then when I start reading it and I find errors, you start losing points. So therefore, if you turn in a real sloppy paper, but you try to make up for the sloppiness by going longer length, you're just going to be losing more and more points. So that's not a good strategy to do. If it's a good paper and you make it long, I don't mind. In fact, I'll enjoy reading it, okay? But if it's really bad and you try to overcome that by just putting more bad stuff out there, you're just going to be losing more and more points. So write a good paper, okay? Try to shoot for 1 to 2 pages of text, okay? Any standard format, I don't care. Most of the English classes teach MLA, Modern Language Association format. Fine with me, I don't care. A lot of scientific writing uses APA format, American Psychological Association format. They just came up with a good format and everybody liked it, so a lot of people use it. But different professional organizations sometimes have their own. My wife is a researcher and she has to write a certain format for New England Journal of Medicine, a different one for Journal of American Medical Association. Whoever she's writing for, she has to follow that format. You choose the format, do it, okay? Here's an example. I chose to block my paragraphs, so I'll block all the paragraphs. Consistency is what I'm looking for. Here's one that I've seen not all that frequently, but still too often. Someone might refer to a source somewhere, say up in the first paragraph, okay? And they may, after they name the source or whatever, put open parentheses, the author's last name, comma, year of publication, close parentheses. And then somewhere else, they hit another source, and they'll open parentheses, title of the article, comma, page number. That's not consistent. I mean, pick a format and then use the rules of that format. Now, I think I know what happened when I read something like that. They use the source here, and then they refer to the source using whatever format that source used. They just used that and applied it to that source. And then lay it down here as a different source, and that different source may have used a different format, so they apply that for it. That's not how you do it. You pick the format and you stay with it. Okay? Now, spelling, grammar, sentence structure, and other types of errors will cost you points. So by all means, use spell check, use grammar check, use good proofreading. Just about every word processing package has spell check and grammar check on it, maybe some other stuff too, and then you have to apply the good proofreading. And here's what I mean by that. I remember my senior high school teacher, when she was having us write pretty major papers, here was her advice, and these are almost her words. Okay, she said, once you finished your paper, put it down and let it rest. Okay, I found that an interesting way to do it. Pick it up several days later and read it, in her terms again, with fresh eyes. And when you do that, you will, let me back up. This is not proofreading, not good proofreading anyway. Type, 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 read the paragraph. Right, type, type, read the sentence. Type, 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 read. That's not proofreading. It is a little bit, but when you're doing that, you know exactly what you want it to say, and then when you read it, basically, you read it saying that, okay? You might not notice you had 2 these in there, or you had an N, I-N, but you forgot the N. You read it as if that's the word in, because that's what you intended it to be. Pick it up later with fresh eyes so you've forgotten exactly how you were phrasing it, and when you read it that way, say, what in the world did I mean by that sentence? Okay? If you're going to ask yourself that question, I almost guarantee you I'll be asking that, and I won't have as big a clue as you do. So please, that's what I mean by good proofreading.
One of my English professors actually told me to read the sentence by sentence backwards.
Oh, from the end of the paper to the front
so
of the paper.
Each sentence at a time. You can't be like, okay, this last sentence said this, so
right.
I'm assuming this.
Right.
You read it backwards and you don't know what's been said.
Right.
So you're just taking it a sentence at a time.
Wow. That would, especially for a long paper, that could really be a fun exercise, couldn't it? Yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Now, I've been talking about grammar, but there's more to it. Content also matters. So if you have inconsistencies there, generally I'm going to see them because I've read enough papers and had enough life experience with it that I will recognize big inconsistencies. Now, some are pretty obvious. I'll give these dumb examples often. I've had someone write on a person, and at the first time they introduce it, they choose to, you don't have to, put in parentheses the year of his birth, the year of his death. You know, you just see that happen often when you're writing on a person. But then over here on page 2, he died a different year than you had on page 1. I don't know. That's an inconsistency. Okay, I've also seen dates put in obviously wrong. Something that you expected to be around 1492 and it came out 1942. No, it couldn't have been that. Okay, so I usually will pick up most of those too. So be careful. I've had people talk about things like the Pythagorean theorem and state them absolutely wrong. Okay, so please, I will recognize most of that. Occasionally, I will actually go to a source and say, is this right? You know, I'll find another source to see if it is. Now, all right, when is it due? The paper is due by the last day of class before the final examination week. Not during final exam week, the last class before. But I do not recommend you wait till then to do your paper. I usually tell this, and I'm pretty sure this is close to reality. For instance, this term, I wound up with 7 courses, okay? Maybe a few more than normal, but I've had as many as 8 in the term before, and probably had as few as 4 occasionally, but not very frequently, okay? Now, and generally I have more than 3 people in a class that probably averages 15, 18, something like that. And I usually teach 3 terms a year. I've not missed a summer yet, so, and usually, like I said, several classes per term, several people per class. It's a lot of paper. Every class of mine has a paper. And the general rule that I would say that I found, those papers that come in earliest in the term are usually some of my best papers. And quite often, the papers that come in at the end of the term are quite often some of my worst papers. Now, I've had some real dogs at the beginning. I've had some great papers at the end, but the general trend is downhill. So please get started early. Don't put it off. Don't procrastinate, and get going. That's why I want you to pick a paper topic in the next week or 2, so you at least start thinking about it. Now, the other deal is you'll never have more time to work on it than you do right now. You don't have any.
3 papers.
Huh?
I only had 3 papers to do.
Yeah, so get going. Don't put them all off till the end. Now, you will lose points if the paper is submitted after the last day of class. You know when that is. Not the last day of finals, the last day of class. Okay? Now, that's the stick. Here's the carrot. If you submit your paper, it'll start at the end of the term. In the month of December, okay, you only have like a week of class or maybe a day or 2 more in December, you're just going to get your score. Whatever you score, you're going to get. If you submit it in November, you'll have that score plus 1 bonus point. If you turn it in the month of October, you get 2 bonus points. The month of September, you get 3 bonus points, and if you happen to get it done in the month of August, you only got a few days left, you will get 4 bonus points. So please, there's your carrot. Try to get it in sooner rather than later. Okay? Now, here's one thing that I ask of students that most paper assignments don't have. When you submit your paper, please attach a single page from one of your sources. Let's say you have 3 sources. I don't need a page from each source. I just need 1 page from one of your sources. You pick a source, give me a page from that source. That's all I require. I don't want the whole source. I don't need all that many pages. I just need a single page. So let's say it was a source you got from the library, okay? Take it over to the copier, copy me one single page from that source. If it was something you got off the internet, you may have printed out the whole paper or the whole source. I don't need it all. Just give me one page from that. Any questions and further clarification? Yeah.
When you have you say one source, so just one page from the source, but if you're using links,
yeah.
Like you have it
Okay, yeah, I should have done that. If you are doing the computer application, then you can't really print a page, so then you give me the link.
But would you, since it's just a big open piece of paper, do you want to just go ahead and throw any links that we used?
That would be fine. You can do those too. And if your format asks you to do source, excuse me, works cited, references, whatever they call it in your format that you're using, you certainly can put them there too. You know, but so if you are doing an application paper based on Slater or somebody else that you found really useful, then just give me the link for that. Can't print a page, or if you can't print a page, just give me the link. Okay, glad you asked that. I usually say it, but rushing through this. Also, my throat is running out. Yesterday and today, my throat's really beginning to hurt. All right, there again is my email address, my phone number, and both of my office numbers. Any questions? Again, once I get those point things done and the months corrected, I'll put this on Blackboard. All right. If no questions, I think we can get started on linear algebra.
Did we not need to do safety again?
What's that?
I said, did we not need to do safety again?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. And I also need to show you at some point my locator card, but that's a real simple thing. I just don't have it done up yet because I'm still developing my schedule yesterday. Yeah, safety, let's hit those. Sorry, I forgot.
Just for CYA purposes.
Yeah. I guess I need to for that reason too, because if you listen to your last class, I gave the safety in it. It's the same as I said before. The three major things we do safety-wise: weather or something external. If that alarm goes off, that's the warning siren goes off, we go down and we go interior. We stay together as a group to allow and able to call roll, confirm that everybody made it and is down there, and we do. And I've talked about the directions for how to do it. Go out the door, take a left, go down the half flight of stairs, take another left, go down a full flight of stairs, go to the interior part of the building, and you usually look for close walls and corners. Those are the safest places. Certainly the restroom fits the bill on that, just not maybe the ideal place to spend a couple of hours, especially if the power goes out, which in a weather emergency it probably will. So you lose ventilation, you use lights, there's no emergency lighting in there. You may not want to spend a couple of hours in the restroom. You could if you wanted to. It's certainly a safe place. The dean's office is right next to the restrooms down there. It's down a couple of steps. It's interior like the restrooms are, so that's a good place to go, but of course that door is usually locked if they're not there. After that, the hallway is probably next best. You just don't have any corners there, but you have fairly close walls, and you have emergency lighting, which makes it probably the overall the best place to be. But sit real close to the wall. Don't be out in the middle of the hall. Something could come down from above, less likely to right at the wall. It seems like there was a tornado at a school many years ago, probably close to a decade ago now. It seems like it may have been Piedmont. I know they had a tornado there. I don't remember, but it was during a school day. We actually drove by that town when they were doing reconstruction. But I remember that kids that got right against the gym wall, one set of them was spared, but the other set, something did fall on top of them. So and there were some injuries and stuff. But usually the walls are safer. Corners are even better. Okay. If then the hallway is not, if that's too crowded or you can't help but get in the middle of the hall, you might want to go in that first classroom 160. It's a big open space. Don't get in the middle. Again, corners are safest. Walls are next, but there's no emergency lighting in there. Then in the library area, that first room on the right as you go down the hall toward into the library is the computer room. It's a little bit smaller than the classroom, so the corners are closer together, the walls are closer together. Not a bad place to be. Not out in the middle working on a computer. That would not be a good place to be. You probably don't have power anyway. And then the room next to that is the reference room or archive room or something, whatever you want to call that. That's not a bad space. A little bit bigger maybe than the computer room, but you do have walls and corners in there. Don't go any further in the library because then you're in an exterior room and glass will be a hazard. Don't go there. Stay low and interior. And stay together until we get roll confirmed. Then you can mingle among your friends if you want. But don't leave the building. The worst place to be probably in a tornado is outside in a vehicle. They get tossed around really badly. Okay, that's the external. Internal. This would be mostly something like fires or chemical spills or something happening inside the building. Then you go low and get out. Don't go in, get out. And when you say out, usually it's about 75 feet from the building, perpendicular to the building. Don't go along the building. The wall is not your friend then, because what if there's an explosion inside? Then glass will be fired outward. The walls may tumble outward on top of you. Get away from the building. Even if it's raining or cold or something else, get away from the building. Okay? Again, you stay together because I might be the last one out. I typically will be, making sure everybody is out. And anyone who has difficulty going down the stairs or have slipped or fallen or something, I'm going to stay and make sure that one's out. When I do get out there, we'll need to call roll again. If you're not able to find you, then some emergency personnel is going to have to go back into a dangerous environment and try to look for you at the risk of his or her own life. Don't do that to somebody. Stay together. Don't assume the college will be canceled, classes canceled, college closed, or something like that until you hear the official word. Okay? So all I can think of there. Oh, except for this. What if you don't hear the fire alarm, but you see the fire, you see the smoke, you see that there is a fire? Then somebody, before you leave the building, and I would say 2 people, go and find the closest fire alarm. And don't look on any of these old hallways here that have the terrazzo floor and the concrete walls and that kind of stuff. You're not going, the tile walls. This old part of the building was built before fire alarms were required by code. You'll have to go to the new part of the building, which is go out the door, down the half flight of stairs, and then go take a right just past the restrooms through that little corridor that leads to where student financial services, records, and that kind of stuff is. That's the new part of the building. Look along those hallways, and you'll see a fire alarm there. That's where you go and pull it. If we're the first to detect, we have to warn the others. Then you proceed out of the building just like I described before. Find the rest of us, your class, and get with us and stay with us until we mark roll. All right. Also, second, right, yeah. If the fire actually did start in this room and we were the first, somebody goes to ring the alarm, someone also goes to get the fire extinguisher. That could be me, but if I'm occupied dealing with somebody who's injured or something, someone else get that fire extinguisher just outside our door and bring it in here. If I'm able, I'll do the operation of it unless you're really skilled or equipped to do so. But you know, I take that as my responsibility rather than yours. Okay. That would be that. The third, and the one I'm sad that we even have to mention, is active shooter. And this is something that's happened on community college campus at least once before. And actually, I heard this. Now, actually, were you here when I talked about it before? Oh, you hadn't heard anything about it. One of my adjunct math instructors last night, in Birmingham, or the areas here somewhere, called in that she could not be here for her 5:30 class because she was in lockdown at her school. And this was at 5 o'clock in the evening. They obviously have been in lockdown since 3 or something like that. So a child, she said, had actually been shot and killed, not on campus, but somewhere just adjacent to campus, but they didn't know if the shooter was still out, so they had everybody still locked down in the building until they got word. So I don't know any more than that, but it does happen, unfortunately. So if that were the case here, if someone hears gunfire or something that sounds like gunfire, alert me to it, because I'm hard of hearing. I may not hear it as well as you do. First thing I'm going to do is go outside the door here, lock the door. I can only do it from the outside. There are no buttons in order to push. I have to physically do it with my key, and then I'll come back in and get inside with you. Don't go anywhere. Get very quiet. We'll turn off the light. Then either I or somebody else will go not to this door leading to this first office, not to the middle door, but to the third door, the door that leads from the second office into the classroom next door, and we'll push the button on that one so it's locked from the outside of that office, inside of the classroom. Then come back in, close the middle door, come back in, close this door. Don't lock this one. That locks us in, doesn't lock them out. So, and then we get in this little corner over here behind the door, not in line of sight of anything on the outside, and we turn off the lights, we get very quiet, and we wait until we hear officially that everything is under clear. Okay? That could be hours. Hopefully it won't be, but hopefully it won't happen. Okay? But we have to think ahead what we're going to do and do it. All right, any questions on that? Did I cover it all? Okay. Now we've got 8 minutes left. Okay, sorry. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's at least introduce linear algebra. Okay? That's differential equations. So let's clear that out of the way. Yeah. Okay. All right, as I said before, we're not going to go over everything in Chapter 1, but it's not a bad idea for you to look at the stuff in Chapter 1. And you were asking before about media resources, is that right?
Well, I was talking about what you had put up on Blackboard, like what
right.
you had found, or students
right.
had found. That's what I was asking
Yeah.
about.
Just wanted to check, and there are no, still I don't see any PowerPoint, so yeah, I'll check on those others on the syllabus I did last time and see if there was any source like that. But Slater, you said, was the one you found. Okay. Chapter 1, Systems of Linear Equations. You probably had this in Math 100 or in high school. You could have had it in Math 112 or in high school, wherever you did pre-calculus algebra.
Systems of equations.
Second, systems of equations. Right. What we mean by a system is a number of linear equations. Now, we're talking about linear equations now. What do we mean by linear equation?
They're not raised to any power.
Okay, the variable, the unknown, the independent variable is not raised to any power. Okay, or technically power of 1. Okay, it has a power of 1.
It can have a power of 0, though.
It could have 0 too, yes, of course. But then you wouldn't see the variable anyway, because it'd be 0 to x to the 0th power is 1. So if you see a variable, it's only to exponent 1. Can't be a fractional exponent, can't be a number, a negative exponent, it can't be anything except just the variable. Okay, that's a linear equation. So you should be familiar with those. If you have several of the equations in several variables. Now, if you just have one variable, you just solve that equation. That's all you do. But if you have it in two or more variables, then that then is a linear equation in more than one variable. That's what we're basically talking about. If you have two equations, the only way you can solve that, two variables, you're going to need at least two equations. Okay? Any more than two equations are going to be extraneous. Anything less, you won't be able to solve it. Now, just because you have two equations won't mean you can solve it then, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so I'll let you go through the definition of linear equations in variables, look at example 1, figure out if those are linear equations or not. Neither of you have your book, right? Okay. We just won't even mess with that yet. Then we talk about solutions and solution set. Okay? If you solve a system of linear equations, again, if you have n variables, you'll need at least n equations to solve that. Okay? If you have n, you may or may not be able to solve it. But if you can solve it, you have what you call a solution set. Now that solution set could contain one and only one solution. Okay? Then you call that a unique solution. You could have more than one solution. Generally, that would be an infinite number of solutions. Okay? But you can still solve it. You could have a situation you have absolutely no solutions. Okay? We'll talk about that some too. The solution set, okay, you should know all that. Sometimes, however, if you have an infinite number of solutions, we'll wind up with a parametric representation of that set. In other words, x sub 1 would be equal to 3, x sub 2 is equal to 7, but x sub 3 is equal to 2x1. You could have x sub 3 could be some variable t, and then everything else depends on that variable. Okay? Then you would have an infinite number of solutions. That would be a parametric representation. We'll see those later, just giving you that. Now, I think we'll just wait and hit those later. I'm going to write down some of those. So a system of equations would be, say, m linear equations in n variables. That could be your system. Okay? And for instance, here's one application. In a chemical reaction, atoms reorganize in one or more substances. For instance, when you use methane gas combining with oxygen and burns, carbon dioxide and water are the products of that. Well, if you're trying to solve what they call it stoichiometrically, that equation, then you could have some variable for the amount of methane, for the amount of oxygen, for the amount of carbon dioxide, for the amount of water. Stoichiometry, exactly. You remember that? Chemistry? All right, good deal.
Chemistry in 10th grade.
In what?
10th grade.
10th grade, right. All right. Now, I was mentioning before, if you have one and only one solution or an infinite number of solutions, then we say that system of equations is consistent. It has a solution, or more than one solution is consistent. However, if you have a system that there are absolutely no solutions to it, that's called an inconsistent system. We'll talk about that later too, but I wanted to get the terms out there now. Okay? So, one way we could solve linear equations, what do we call them, linear equations? Okay, number one, the exponents are always 1. Can't be anything other for the variables. The second thing is when you graph it, it forms a straight line. Now, it could be a straight line on a plane. It could be a straight line in space. It could be a straight line in dimensions, okay, which I can't picture, but it's there, okay? Now, let's say we are on a plane, and one equation does that straight line. Another equation does another line. Guess what? If those two lines do not have the same slope, somewhere in that plane, it may be way out there, they're going to intersect. Then you have one and only one solution. That would be a consistent system. Now, if you had that line and your second equation happened to graph exactly on the same line, you have an infinite number of solutions. That's still a consistent system. But now your slope would be the same. But if, and now, three-dimension slope is another concept, but we'll get there. Okay, in three-dimensional, if you have this two-dimensional space, a line here and a parallel line somewhere else that doesn't sit on top of it, then those will never intersect. They will not have a solution. That would be an inconsistent system. So that's in two-space, a plane, that's the concept. You can have that same thing in three-space. Z-plane, okay. In three-space, you could also have that type of thing going on. Yeah, no. Let me just describe this once. You could have a plane here and a plane there. Their intersection would be a line. That would be an infinite. But you could have a plane here, and a plane there that could only intersect at a point. Unique solution, but still consistent. Infinite number of solutions, or planes that are parallel to each other, or lines that are skewed like this and never intersecting, but don't have to be parallel, then you have no solution. So,
really fuzzy, huh?
What's that?
You can get really fuzzy, huh?
Yeah, you could. So that's going to be talking about that. I would say we'll start on Thursday on page 6, solving a system of linear equations. Not that we're going to do those, but to hit some of the nomenclature, the terms, row echelon form, back substitution, that kind of stuff. That's where we'll begin next time. Again, it's going to be largely blah, blah, blah until we get to forming a matrix. Okay? But we want the terminology because we're going to use the same terminology in matrices that we use in linear equations.
And it's making sense. It's just, you got to think about it.
Yeah. And what a lot of this course is going to be is developing the sort of the infrastructure that you don't have to worry about thinking about it. You just do it and trust it. Okay? And
Trust the matrices.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
All right.
So, I wanted to look at something.
Sure.
If you want to end the screen.
Yeah, I'm going to end it right now.
When you have an adjunct instructor, you're doing something.